All right, guy. I guess we're live. I don't see it on my screen yet, but we will.
Oh
So,
yeah, we're live. We're live. We're so live. It's crazy. There's so much liveness going on here.
yeah. So everyone here, as soon as I will get on the chat as soon as I see it. But so I have Dean Blundell with me here, who I'm sure all of you. Oh my gosh, there's so many of you. You guys already know him because he's been on with Zev and with Dean, and you're going on again. I mean, with Dean, you're Dean. You're going on with Nick again tonight, right?
5 o'clock.
And
Yeah.
yeah. So, so I would like to welcome you, Dean Blundell, at substack.substack.com
hmm
to Freedom Over Fascism.
Thanks for having me. This it's an aptly titled podcast. Who would have thought that in 2025, you and I being of the similar vintage, that you would have a Substack live or a podcast called Freedom Over Fascism.
It would have been a big nightmare of
Yeah, no kidding,
mine,
right?
from a long time. Oh my goodness. So, here we are. So let me just get the chat on so I can see all the people. All right. So, let me do a little bio of you of everything you've written about yourself
I
on
always love
Substack.
these. I always love these bios. Go ahead. Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on, doctor.
Dean is currently the author of deanblundell.substack.com, where he calls himself media guy, content provider, dog whisperer, Canadian raconteur, muckraker.
Yes.
So he's got a long history in Canadian broadcasting, and he co-hosts the Five Stack with Zev Shalev, and he's incredibly prolific. And I want to figure out how you're so prolific with all the articles, because I don't have that many thoughts to rub together. And you're from Toronto, and you care about the sports ball thing. And I grew up in Los Angeles, where I spent a lot of time at Dodger Stadium. So I would like to ask you about the World Series and how it's so what you think about it. We can, it could be as sportsy as you want, but also kind of how it stands in for the Canadian USian relationship right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's funny, they try to take the sports out of politics, but the president of the United States likes to insert himself into absolutely everything, including the World Series, which he's done again. I don't know if you saw that the other day, just a quick aside, where he put out a Truth Social. Sorry, I'm going to laugh a lot during this when we recount the dumb things that Dementia Don has been saying and doing. When he said he didn't really care for either team because they're both from either a woke state or nasty Canadian country,
Oh,
blah, blah,
that's
blah, blah,
blah,
blah.
blah,
No
blah.
one's going to be welcome to the White House. And I just, it's funny because I love baseball. I love the Blue Jays. I'm from Toronto. I was there for 92, 93, they're 32 and 31 years ago when they won their last 32 and 33 years ago when they won their first two World Series. And I remember George W. Bush coming up for that. I remember George Herbert Walker Bush sitting with the Prime Minister of Canada, then Brian Mulroney, and thinking, oh, that's really nice. These guys love baseball. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. It's very statesman-like, right? And you're just encouraging two countries that are battling out in a World Series. Canada had two teams at the time, don't have the Expos anymore. And I thought, isn't it nice that they're doing something together as a country, two leaders, two best friends showing up to watch a baseball game together. Juxtapose that with Donald Trump saying, I hate the Dodgers, I hate the Blue Jays, screw Canada, screw California. And those through lines exist for a reason, right? And so I for one couldn't be more proud. I said this in a tweet a while ago. I said I'm going to fly down to Washington D.C. with a Blue Jays banner and a giant Canadian logo on it, big maple leaf. I'm gonna pin it to the White House fence if they win. So I'm really excited. And the other thing is that I had a conversation with a gentleman last night who's from Detroit, and big Tigers fan. He's cheering for the Jays. We were sitting in this little restaurant and everybody was cheering for the Blue Jays. I'm actually in America right now visiting a friend who's in need. And so, I came, it's a whole other story. And the entire bar full of beautiful American people, right? Which we in Canada have been told not to like you. We love you. I was high-fiving guys. My partner had the jersey on. I had my hat on, and everybody's cheering for the Toronto Blue Jays in the state that I'm in right now. And it's because of political division. It's because of what's going on in the United States of America. And I know that you're a Dodgers fan. You grew up, going to games at Chavez Ravine, and it's been really cathartic, but it's also been incredible to see Canada with Canada's only team and the way that Canada is be represented by that team and the way that Canada is understated. We just go to work
Right.
and we love our teams and we love our people, but there's nothing gregarious about this team. There's nothing gregarious about Canadians. We're just hardworking individuals that love to support our team, but we're also hardworking individuals that understand the symbolism of the Toronto Blue Jays and the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series. And it's been beautiful to see so many Americans come together to support Canada's team. It's been awesome.
That is awesome, although it kind of means that they're not supporting Los Angeles for as you said, but whatever. Los Angeles is used to it. It can handle itself. But it sort of gets me to the question. Um, well, first of all, that 18, my husband, who is in the chat right now, told me about the 18 inning debacle, and my
Yeah.
heart goes out to all the players. But and to Canada because
Well, they came back
and
and won last night 6-2. So
so
it
it's
was a
it's
thumping.
tied.
We thumped them. So now it's tied 2-2. It's coming back to Canada. We got game 5 tonight, which I will not be podcasting during game 5. I will not be writing. I'll be focused on the mission.
All right. Yes. Well, good. I'm glad that you're focused.
Thank you.
So you're Canadian,
Hmm.
obviously. How did you get involved in United States politics and writing about it and thinking about it and talking about it all the time? Um, and what's the investment for you?
That's a great question. I don't know if it's an investment in as much as it is in Canada's best interest to have America back. And let's just use that as a kind of an overarching, theme about the stuff that we're going to talk about today and why I do what I do. I feel like I've got a duty to warn, but I feel I've got a duty to back up my American friends. And I think that that's really the Canadian vibe, if you will, is, when I started to do media, I was on the radio for a really long time in Toronto. Left that, now started a couple of podcasts and podcast networks, and don't do that anymore just because I hate chasing people around and asking them to do things the proper way. And there was 139 of them. So we got rid of the podcast network. It was great. It was fun. But it was all Canadian. There's 41 million beautiful people here, small sample size, small audience. So strategically, it's smarter for me to, wade into those waters when it comes to analytics. There's 360 million people in the United States. Donald Trump is the biggest story in the world every single day. The slide to fascism from the most beautiful country, most powerful country, the freest country in the world, is very, very concerning, And so when I got on the Substack, this was only in April, I made a decision and came up with sort of a bit of a strategy and a game plan about how I can use my voice, my platform, and I have a significant platform on a few other social media apps as well. I thought, how do I do this? Like, how do I support America? How do I support Canada and support America? But more importantly, how do we get the information to the people? How do we get around the gaps in mainstream media? And how do we uncover things that the Trump regime doesn't want you to talk about, like intentions and context? How do we fill in the story for people? How do we get information through the underground information railroad? Because mainstream media in the United States is legitimately captured. And so, I wrote a piece right after they tariffed us, and it was one of my first pieces on Substack that went, as they say, mega viral, about Mark Carney and his quiet bond play because he, called everybody
Oh,
up as soon
I
as
read that and I
yeah,
thought that was phenomenal.
as soon as the terrorist happened, Mark Carney got on the phone, as one does if you're Mark Carney, and talked to people in Japan and around the world. And he said, we all own a lot of U.S. debt. We we start selling some of these treasury bills, we might be able to put a scare, but that's a one-shot arrow. Put a scare into Donald Trump. And you started to see countries do that, and then it started to level off. And that was when Trump came back to the table. So I tried to explain it to people because not a lot of people know what T-bills, treasury bills are. Not a lot of people know how deficits work. Not a lot of, so I really try to take that the bigger things that MAGA wants you to gloss over, the headlines, the pejoratives, the lies, the gaslighting. And I really started to try to break those things down and then give people direction as to what the truth is. Give people sort of a path to go and figure out, and breadcrumbs, or sometimes the whole meal. I would give people that understanding so that people can confidently manage the information that they're getting. And that was and still is my goal. My goal is, and always is, has been, it is same thing with Zev, Lev, Cohen, Schmidt, everybody that I work with. I'm very fortunate to find myself in a great group of guys and girls you know, um, that people take seriously, is to take that reputation, to take the truth, to take all the things and boil it down into something that you can easily understand and breathe a sigh of relief after, knowing what the intentions are, knowing things aren't as bad as they look, knowing that you are being gaslit into thinking your country's a war zone, which it is not, knowing the truth about where these Medicaid cuts are coming from and how many people are going to be missing their SNAP benefits at the end of the month, knowing that Donald Trump gave Javier Milei $40 billion while refusing to feed hungry people and stealing your health care. Knowing those things is really, really, really important. And because of the capture of mainstream media in the United States, because of the capture of social media and the oligarchy on behalf of Donald Trump, because he has the richest pricks in the world in his pocket, you're not getting that information in a way that's easily understandable. And you're also just being ginned up to be pissed off and scared all the time, which is the intention of the Trump regime. So it was
Right.
really important to me as we continue to do the work that we do to make those things the pillars of why I do what I do. And I believe it's the same for all the guys I work with. You're not going to find a better guy at this than Steve Schmidt. He's leaving it all on the field now with his new Save America movement. Same thing with guys like Lev Parnas or Zev Shalev. It's very, very difficult to find people that haven't been, you know, tired out by the news cycle, and it's very difficult to find people who are still willing to put it all on Front Street.
Right.
And so that's really why I do what I do.
That is really interesting because I do what I do from a step behind that, which is the media's been captured. How do
Hmm.
we create an infrastructure to educate people about the truth? Now, I'm not necessarily the one doing the research and providing it, although I have plenty to say and I have plenty of rants and I try to talk to people who about what's going on and
Hmm.
what the importance of it is historically, in terms of other relationships around the world. Um, and I think we're in a moment where, to some extent, all the guys that you're working with, who I, by the way, would like to talk to all of them, um, uh, are doing a great job just really showing up with truth that you don't get in other places and
Hmm.
quickly. And you don't have to like wade through 17,000 pages to get to it. Like I
Hmm.
stack, like boom, boom, boom. Here's what you need to know for today. Or even
Hmm.
Aaron Parnas, here's what you need to know for today. And I wonder, and I'd love your opinion on this, is so we've got this great Substack community going, and it's a community. Um, I think we're working to make it, both the USian, I've learned not to say American so much. And I had friends from Canada who always got mad if I said American. We're American too, North America. Um, So we've got this on Substack. How do we, is it reaching the kind and number of people that we need it to? Or how do we get it to reach enough people to make a difference, to understand what values-based news, what truth-based news, what real thoughtful analysis is, because it
Mm,
isn't in the corporate media.
mm. No, it definitely is not. I would actually challenge the notion that it ever was important in corporate media. How do we do that? That's the question, right? We're talking about aggregation, and I think if we zoom out a little bit, you can see the lengths and the depths that MAGA, conservative America, conservative Canada, have gone to own means of information distribution, right? So I'll give you an example of how far-reaching that is because it touches Canada. It's a nice way for me to kind of connect the dots between Canada and the United States. The biggest owner of newspaper outlets in Canada is a MAGA-funded hedge fund from Chatham Asset Management. They own something called Post Media. They own every single daily newspaper in Canada, every single one. Yeah, 66% owned by Chatham Asset Management, David Pecker and those beautiful
Oh,
people.
those fun people.
That opened up the foreign print ownership opened up under a guy named Stephen Harper. Stephen Harper is the former prime minister of this country, very, very good friends with Donald Trump, Viktor Orban, Vladimir Putin. And he really, saw the writing on the wall, or at the very least, they all, said, "Hey, we need to own the means of distribution." And he helped the United States get that deal done. He helped Chatham Asset Management get that deal done. So, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that everything you read in the National Post is countrywide on every email. It's a
Mhm.
newspaper, and it's all MAGA or Maple MAGA tainted. Everything you read, there is nothing in any National Post or Post Media newspaper that is remotely close to factual anymore. They've got like a 28-year-old like Trump loving Maple MAGA editor. They've got, it's all the same. And then and that's just in Canada. Well, let's look at what's going on in the United States. Larry Ellison bought TikTok. He's buying TikTok with a bunch of assholes like Michael Dell. They're all Trump donors. They're all Trump acolytes. They bought Skydance, CBS. Now they're gunning for CNN, Time Warner. I mean, the aggregation and consolidation of the means of information distribution in the United States by MAGA has been, and you can get angry. And we should get angry, but it's been brilliant.
It has been brilliant, and that
Absolutely brilliant.
the local stations too with Sinclair.
Yeah.
I feel like
Next star.
they have
Yeah.
next, yeah, they've been really thinking ahead for 50 years,
Oh, yeah.
and they fund it too.
Hmm.
So people, on their side who are part of that ecosystem get money, whereas, I see on in the chat, we're talking about, paid subscribers, and I keep everything free because I think that paywalls are not conducive to understanding reality. But
Hmm.
it would be much more helpful if I could help support my family rather than, just say, here, let me give it all for free. And if you have a little bit of money when children are going hungry, can you please send a little bit my way?
Yeah.
Um, so I wonder, like, how do we, and the pro democracy side, I don't know if in Canada they're any more thoughtful than they are here, but they seem so freaking short sighted
Yeah.
and so damn weak.
And that's sort of the other side of that equation. So, talking about the MAGA brilliance for the last few decades, quartering the market on information, whether it social media, whether it's media, mainstream media, whether it's Substack, whether they overpay people and assholes like Jack Posobiec or Tim Pool gets $100,000 an episode for doing Russian propaganda. I mean, it's not just American money; it's all money. But on the progressive side, on the Democratic side, not the Democratic Party. I don't subscribe to parties. I don't subscribe to politics. But on the Democratic side or the progressive side, you have so many people, to your point, like us, going in one direction, going in another direction. You have so many people like us that are looking for information, but nobody has seemed to be able to, with the exception of the guys at Midas who are great dudes, no one seemed to be able to have aggregated the vision, and they're still not even interested in it. And that's the thing that really pisses me off, to be honest with you, Stephanie, is I lay awake sometimes at night going, you know what, if I had $500 million, I could build it tomorrow. You know, if I had the kind of money that they throw at owning your brain, owning your information to literally create a virtual reality sim for you to live in. You live in a sim. We live in a sim right now. You know,
Mhm.
America's not the hottest country in the world. Canada's not a nasty bunch of people. You know, America is collapsing. They want you to think it's not. And that's because they own the means of distribution and production, right? That's just the truth. They want you to think that what's going on in Chicago, I don't know if you saw what went on in Chicago this weekend. 67-year-old man got his ass kicked by ICE agents for not moving his car. American. He was out waiting for his running club buddies as ICE goons and Gestapo gassed all these kids running around,
Yeah.
getting ready to go to a Halloween trick or treat party. Um, and they they put out the White House and Homeland Security put out a thing about how incredible Greg Bovino has been for the city of Chicago, and it's like, we can see, right? Like we can visualize that. We can see what he's doing. We can watch him beat old people and scare the shit out of kids. We can watch him seriously injure migrants and Americans and people of color. We can see what you're doing, but they want you to think that those people are all criminals. And those people have to go. And so we all live in this sim. And I took a cab last night with this guy. He's like, "Do you have any illegals? Do you have any illegal aliens in Canada?" And I'm like, "We probably have undocumented human beings there, yes." And and then this guy went on a tirade about that's the only good thing that Trump's doing, and he loves watching this stuff. And I'm like, "Oh my God, people here live in a sim." Like, but to that point, we all generally do.
Well, I mean, we don't have any common basis for reality. You and I look at the pictures in Chicago and are, what the fuck is going on here? Clearly,
Yeah.
it's not a war zone. Clearly, you're targeting kids and people, brown people, and people with accents, and they don't even give a shit anymore. Everybody. But those other folks see Fox or Sinclair or any of the podcasts, and it just confirms their priors. And they like to think, oh well, Chicago, that's where all those blue assholes live. That's not real America. Even Los
Hmm.
Angeles, that's not real America, even though in Los Angeles County there are more people than in the entirety of Canada. But
We know.
yeah, I know. Um, so that lack of mutual basis of fact, I think, is it's a huge
Yeah.
problem. And I don't quite know how we get past it unless it's by, sort of getting to one person at a time, doing it through 3-second TikToks. It's not clear to me. I mean, we have a very big grassroots community, Substack, wherever, on all the
Hmm.
social medias, that the institutional pro-democracy Democrats don't know about, don't pay attention to, couldn't give a shit about. And so we're on this side going, could you do something, please? And could you maybe find a backbone?
Yeah.
And
Well, and to
and
that
yet,
point, sorry, Stephanie, to
no,
that
go ahead.
point, you're seeing that resistance and that information not come from American media outlets, not come from American pundits by and large. Obviously, there's some fear. You're seeing that reality, that fake reality in a post-truth society get pierced by unlikely sources now. I don't know if you saw the ad that Ontario took out using Ronald Reagan's
He did.
harsh but heartfelt words about how dumb tariffs are, and only an asshole effectively would tariff an ally because it ends up killing your economy and people hit back. That's when Trump decided he was going to, cancel negotiations with Mark Carney, which is interesting because Mark Carney 2 days before that canceled all negotiations. So it was sort of like this. Just a quick aside, sort of like when you break up with somebody, and, and they're like, "Oh no, I'm breaking up with you now." Like, I guess that's exactly what it was. But that that ad that ad now, and my friends at Save America have juiced it up, and they've actually put some graphics behind it to make you understand the financial implications of Trump's tariffs that are actually 100% true. But that ad that Canada put out was more impactful, um, more it was more impactful than anything the Democratic Party of the United States has done. It was a 1 minute ad. It caused more damage to MAGA and Donald Trump and that thin veil of a bullshit reality he wants everybody to live in, to your point, than anything, any pundit, any outlet. Say what you like about the good people at Lincoln Square. Say what you like about any other lobby group. Say what you like about boat vets. That ad
Mhm.
destroyed the confidence in Donald Trump with so many other Trump supporters yesterday and he knew it because that's his biggest fear. His biggest fear is the veil's going to come off because he's got, tens of millions of people under his idiot spell. And so, who just believe any vague generalization he makes, right? So, when he screams, tariffs are great, we're great, they sit back and go, oh, he's president, it must be true. And then Canada puts that ad out, and now you have tens of thousands of Americans. And I watch it on social media. We get these reports. How many people that love Donald Trump had an issue with that ad or found that ad to be highly enlightening, like highly enlightening. And every single person was like, "Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought things were great. Yeah, like I thought everything was fine. But I'm on Facebook and Fox and Breitbart all day, so whatever, right?" But that's going to be the only thing I think that is going to stand up for Americans. It's the resistance from unlikely sources, different statements. Yesterday, I heard that the government of Canada was strongly considering officially condemning Donald Trump's human rights abuses
Right, I saw
of
that.
our American friends. And that's something that is a hot topic up here. We're actually having these conversations now with other countries about doing the same thing. The UK, France, Spain, several other countries, Australia, um, because that's when the resistance means something. And I think that's what's going to give Americans a little bit of a spark or a pep in their step to feel like other people have their back because he has effectively cornered the market on fascism and fear in the United States of America to the point where, a CNN is not allowed to talk about the teardown of the East Wing because
Right.
the CNN boss walked into the White House. Trump read him the riot act. He came out and go, "Okay, we're not talking about the East Wing anymore, guys."
Right.
And then that was really the last bastion of hope in the United States of America when it came to me, anyway, when it came to proper information. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think that America is going to be saved by a number of factors, and I think one of those factors is going to be countries like Canada that have the ability to pierce that veil. I think it's going to. I think it's going to happen sooner than later, from what I understand. I think you're going to see different, Canadian officials, other officials from other countries step out from behind that veil of everything's great in the United States and say, actually, it's not. You've had your 403rd mass shooting. You got ICE goons beating the shit out of kids.
Right.
You are going to starve 42 million people that need SNAP benefits. And you're deporting people and removing basic human rights and freedom of speech. If that isn't something that you call out as basic human rights abuses of the people of the United States of America, then Canada and Mark Carney should turn their leadership cards in and just shut the fuck up, because that is something that we have to do as a country for our American friends.
I I hope not. I believe that you're right that Carney and the other allies who can't trust us anymore will do that. You said that you think America will be saved by these things. Do you think America will be saved?
Hmm.
Or are we gonna have to have a war either internally or externally, or regions of the country break off? I am in New England. We would be very happy to be Canadian. Like,
We'll take it.
and I'm moving to Maine. I'm like, so's here. She's my escape plan. She's in Quebec.
Hmm.
Let's get as close to the border as we can get. So um, so do you think that there's a possibility of saving this without mass violence,
Uh,
or a
I'm a
depression or
big.
something?
Oh yeah, no, that's coming. Unfortunately, that's coming. You don't have any money. There is no tariff shelf. You don't have 17 to 20 to $50 trillion. The government is shut down. They're getting donations to pay the fucking military, for crying out loud. I mean, I
Well,
watched
that's more
Jim
capture
Acosta.
than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Acosta standing with a whole bunch of veterans in line yesterday, watching them ask for food benefits when they don't have them, and like, I mean, the visuals of what is going on in America are 100% caused by only one man, and all the acolytes and shitheads that he's empowered to hurt Americans. This is a very intentional attempt to hurt Americans. It's also a very intentional attempt to stifle free speech. It's also a very intentional attempt to criminalize any kind of dissent, right? With NSPM 7, anti-Christian bias, anti-American bias, anti-Trump bias, you get labeled a terrorist, you go to jail. So all of those things considered, America is in a terrible place right now. And we all know that. And, this is the tenor for these conversations, and the name of your podcast would dictate that America is not in great shape. But the one thing that he is going to try to take away from you, and this is when you're, I think, going to have to, and I'll get to the saved, can America be saved part. The answer is yes. But this is one of the things that I think America needs to keep their eyes on. I don't care who you voted for either. He's going to try and stop you from voting in the next election,
Hmm.
2026. He is going to do his level best to do that. He is going to call a national emergency. He's going to institute martial law. He is going to have election spotters, which are ICE agents. He is going to do exactly what Vladimir Putin did so he could stay in power for 26 long, fucking, terrible fucking years. And so when that happens in the United States of America, Republicans aren't the only gun owners. You remove someone's right to vote, that's a recipe for a civil war. You know, can you watch your neighbors get snatched out of your house? I guess, right? Can you lose Medicaid and pay bigger premiums? Sure. You take away an American's God-given right to A, express themselves, B, carry a gun. By the way, he's coming up with a gun registry, and the only reason he's doing that is so that he can protect himself from these people. That happened last week. And you prevent them from exercising their democratic right to vote for whoever the fuck they want. Whoever they want. You are going to see the fur fly. You just will.
Well,
So
they've
yes,
been doing
America
that
can
for
be
a long
saved,
time,
but
though.
what's that? What do you mean?
They've been doing it for a long time. Between gerrymandering and getting the Voting Rights Act, and
Yeah.
not allowing Black people to vote until after the Voting Rights Act. I mean, like, it's a thing, but Americans have kind of let their voting rights go in the
Hmm.
past.
Hmm.
So, and I totally believe that even if all of those things that you said didn't happen and people went to the polls, that what Zev uncovered with the machines and Elon and changing all the votes will happen. So, what makes you think that losing the vote is the thing that's going to make a civil war as opposed to something else?
Um, because I think because of what your amendments and rights mean to Americans. It's not something we understand in Canada. It's sort of like how we don't really understand how you can get 120,000 people out to a college football game. Like, yeah, we just don't get that. Kind of also like how we don't understand how when you're born, you have a God-given right to go and purchase a firearm in the United States of America. Like we don't understand that at all. And the
Mhm.
other thing I think that a lot of people don't understand, and I've been fortunate enough to get to know a lot of different Americans, and Steve Schmidt will probably share the same opinion as me, is that Americans take freedom, right? Unabated freedom to come and go, do whatever they please, vote for whoever they want, more seriously than anything. Anything. Freedom is, I mean, it's plastered on flags, it's tattooed on arms, it's like it's on aircraft carriers. Like you go to bed at night, you're a free people, you wake up, you're a free people. By the way, America's not a free country anymore. It's a kakistocracy and an authoritarian, soft authoritarian dictatorship. And when people start to, and I'm not, and this is going to sound bad, and I hope it doesn't. When when white America, when white Christian America wakes up and they realize that, oh, our freedoms are gone too, that's when you're going to see people pick up guns. That's the civil war that I'm talking about. I hope it never comes to that. I hope we can save America before then. And I think the only way America can be saved right now is by a collection of a lot of the things that we're talking about, right? Which is pushback in media, transparency with information. The progressive side or the non-maggots, just the non-maggots, meaning everybody else, need to get their shit together and start calling these things out on a daily basis. More citizen journalism. Someone needs to come along and develop the same platform and program that MAGA used to literally invade people's brains on social media. Like someone has to put this together. People need to come together. Other countries have to come and say, "Hey, you're a dictatorship. Don't go to get more travel advisories." The human rights abuses, making official statements and being dogged about those things. And unless like Canada can only do so much. We stand for what we stand for. We'll make statements when we need to make them. There are other countries like France that are doing the same thing. But that resistance legitimately has to come from within the United States of America. Better America, as I say, has to get its shit together because, it's we lollygag our way into authoritarianism, don't we? We just go, yeah, it's just too much for me to look at on TV today. I can't read that thing. I'm not going to go vote. Like this is exactly the program. This is exactly why we are here. So of course
Mhm.
America can be saved because 260 million people didn't vote for the prick. But when America realizes there are way
Mhm.
more of you than them, that's when America will be saved.
Right, that's fair. I mean, people, don't watch. I was sitting next to a friend of mine, very highly educated. She's like, "Oh, the Trump, they just want to terrify people. They don't actually want to hurt anybody." Really? Really? Have you been completely asleep for the last 9 months?
Have you been amazed as an
Um,
American? Have you been amazed at an academic at how many seemingly smart people just don't get it? Like people with degrees, people with educations are like, "Oh, it's fine. He's just angry. Oh, he's just trying to fill his pockets." You're like, but is this okay with you?" They're like, "Oh, I just don't watch the news anymore." Have you been amazed?
it's insane. And the things that I say, so this particular woman is Indian. Her husband is white. She has Canadian citizenship because she was born in Toronto. And like, they've got plenty of money. So they're just like, oh, must not be happening. And we're in Massachusetts. So it's not really bad here. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's unbelievable to me. And when I say things like I said it on Lawrence and Dana show is my kid's about to go to college and I don't want him several states away. And I don't want him that far because what happens when the government, decides to invade? And people think I'm an absolute raving lunatic for saying that. But
Mm.
I don't think
Mm.
so.
No, and again, that's one of those. That's been a feature of this era that has shocked me. And yeah, but I get it. I get it. There was a time before I started my Substack where I was literally ready to throw the keys to all the media shit that I was doing on the counter because I just couldn't take it in anymore.
Right.
And there was a time when I started my Substack, I left to go to Italy and I needed to shut everything off. I had to just shut it off. And as you do too, right? It's so negative. It's pejorative. It seeps into your brain. And I think that that's the situation for a lot of those people. I think, seemingly bright people that have the ability to push back and can formulate a sentence and can say, no, that's not true. This is what's really happening. Have just kind of, a lot of them specifically that have means, they've turned their back on the sitch, right? And they've just decided to go and bury themselves in work or take their families on vacations or just control what they can control. And as a practicing Stoic, I totally understand that. I understand that, hey, if you can't control the things that are going around you, you build that inner citadel and you get to work making yourself better and enjoying your life and not, getting engaged all the time, because that negative engagement gets so tiring and it legitimately poisons your soul. And, garbage in, garbage out. It's just a law of emotional nature. And so, I think that's that for part of them. But I think that, like, again, I mean, people are going to have to decide if they're going to be okay with this. They're going to have to say, okay, I got to get in the fight. I got to open up my Twitter account. I got to go into these corners, these dark corners, and I got to go and tell people what the truth is. Or I have to get involved. I need to donate to Save America, or I need to be okay with having those conversations because, like, the chilling aspect of this, and why so many people are like your friend and some of my friends are like, I'm not talking about it. I don't want to talk about it. Right. The chilling aspect of all of this is that there are so many people, families, friends, who now just don't talk because of that conversation. I've got family members that are very MAGA, very, very MAGA, and spent a few days with them last week. And we just didn't talk. We talked, we kibitzed. Oh, good to see you. Hey, yeah, I'm gonna go grab coffee. Gonna get you something. Hey, no, yeah, how are the kids? Oh, great, good. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go over there. Like that. These are
Hmm.
immediate family members. Love them dearly. But it's it's amazing because it even has, you know, chilled those conversations to the point where you can't enjoy yourself in a room full of people who may have voted differently, because you've got different ideologies, you've got different views. And that's really one of the greatest shames of this generation. And now, having said that, I mean, I personally, I look at every person that thinks Donald Trump is some kind of saint, or I look at every person that supports Donald Trump as not just mentally deficient, but like the pandemic of stupid starts with them, and we're in that pandemic of stupid. I refuse to associate with certain people. Family's different, but I literally have a hard line with anybody. If you are a Trump supporter, if you are a MAGA supporter, if you support, because it comes down to one thing for me, which is character. America's failing at their character test right now. They can get it back, but it comes down to one thing. If you support it, and this is really the truth for me, if you support a rapist,
Hmm.
34-time felon with over 30, count them, 30 settled sexual assault allegations and lawsuits, who has laundered money for Russia, who is beating the shit out of his own people, who is hiding the Epstein files, who hung around with Jeffrey Epstein, who is in the Epstein files. If you can find a way to go, I like that guy, who's killing the American economy, who's kidnapping and disappearing people off the streets, who's tearing down the fucking White House. If you support him, if anyone supports him, and you're in my orbit, I immediately discount your humanity. I immediately discount anything that comes out of your mouth, and I immediately turn you into persona non grata. And I do that with maple maggots in Canada. We have the same problem. It's a very small problem, but we have the same problem. I refuse. I refuse to think. And it's maybe these are my values. Maybe I like courage, wisdom, temperance, and justice. Maybe those are really important to me.
Well,
But I am not ever, ever, ever going to associate with anybody who thinks it's totally fine to have a moron, dementia patient, rapist, pedophile, felon run a country. I just can't get there.
right. Well, I think I mean, it's values it's a fundamental mismatch of values, and as I've talked about
It's a
before,
nice way to
is
say
like
it.
very
A
beautiful
fundamental
and
mismatch of
mismatch
values
of
with
values, right?
MAGA.
But but the reverse is true, though, right? We should be able to connect on values with people who do share our values, but maybe didn't vote, maybe hiding their head in the sand, who don't actually believe that this pedophile or rapist, felon, person who, hires, genocidal maniacs, um, if they're just shut off, we can probably get to them one by one if we like get together on values. But, obviously we're not going to be able to speak to MAGA people. Although Joe Walsh had a guy who left MAGA on today, and I thought that was really interesting. That
Was
one
that the
reason
leaving MAGA
Tuesdays,
guy? The dude that
yeah,
runs the support group for MAGA? Have you ever he's incredible, by the way. Like,
I
he's incredible. And I know that there's this whole idea out there, and Joe interviewed him, Kinzinger interviewed him a while ago too. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but it's Leaving MAGA is the name of his support group.
yeah,
And it still resonates with me that the only thing that brought him out of his trance, his cult trance, was other information,
formation,
was
right,
a different story. So, like, to that point, yes, you can reach people. Sure, there are lots of people out there. I think a lot of those middling MAGAs, or those people that voted for Trump just because he was a pocketbook president, right? Like, oh, I'm going to make more money because I'm in a regulated industry, so I'm going to vote for Trump and get all my people to vote for Trump. I think those people are will come to the middle on their own, right? I think that there are conversations you can have with a lot of those people, but I highly doubt that, to your point, you're going to reach a hardcore MAGA. And I highly, I'm seriously skeptical of having a conversation with anybody that doesn't want to have a genuine conversation. Like, there are people, it's the same thing on Twitter, right? Where people are like, "Oh, you shut off your comments." Well, I reserve the right to do whatever the fuck I want with my Twitter account, and they're like, you won't even turn on replies so we can have a conversation. Well, I have never once on Twitter or social media had any of those people, I love that, those people want to have a genuine conversation.
right.
All they want to do is call you a libtard, and inject some kind of false narrative about the truth that you just told, or the story that you just put out, or defame or demean or libel you, or call you a pedophile. That's those are the people I'm talking about. I'm talking
Right.
about those guys. I'm talking about those people. I'm not talking about the person in the middle. It's like, yeah, you know what? I own a business that would really benefit from Donald Trump being the president. I know I shouldn't vote for him. I'm going to vote for him. Those people are going to come back because he's
Well,
destroyed the
they're going
economy.
right. I mean, it's clearly empirically not true that they're going to do better under Trump. Um, yeah, so the guy's name is Rich, leavingmaga.org, I think. Um,
Yes.
anyway, today was the first time I saw him, and it was really, really interesting. So given it's 150, and I've been asking people who I've been talking with um, to be radical. So when we get past this, we will at some
Hmm.
point. It could be it could be years, generations, decades. Who knows? We're going to
Well,
need to
his lawyer,
rebuild the.
Trump Ty Cobb, said it would take generations, but go ahead.
I, I think it might, but um, we're going to need to rebuild America, and we are gonna need to get radically creative. And you being from Canada, coming from a different system, which probably works more often than it doesn't, but isn't perfect.
No.
Do you have any maybe it's not even creative to you, but radically different, creative, imaginative ideas on how to structure a United States that uh, that reflects our values?
That reflects current values or the values that the United States of America was once known for. Once known for. I'm going to go with
Like
that one.
our values, the
Yeah,
ones
yeah,
that we
our
say
values.
that we were for, but we really weren't.
Okay, okay. So the first thing, if I'm rebuilding America, the very first thing is I'm giving everybody universal health care. Very first
Yes.
thing. Number one, 600,000 medical bankruptcies in the United States last year alone, zero in Canada. That's number one. Healthy people are happy people. People who don't have anxiety about going to the doctor and getting a bill for $40,000 are happy people. People that can access healthcare anytime, anywhere are happy people. Canada is living proof of that. We have access issues in Canada, not enough doctors. That's starting to change with the brain drain, which is great. But that's the first thing I do. The second thing I do is I get real busy making sure that we take assault weapons off the streets. That's the second thing that I do. And that is, and I get it. I understand Canada's got strict gun laws. We're doing the same thing. We've got a buyback program. Assault weapons are not used for hunting. Handguns are not used for hunting. Machine guns are not used for fucking hunting. They are used for hunting people, and that's what everybody's using them for in the United States of America.
Right.
The number one, I believe, the number one reason for child death is gun violence in the United States of America. Believe that. So that's the second thing I do. And the third thing that I do, and this is really important, is I get rid of the Supreme Court of the United States of America and I replace it with people that have to pass a fucking values and character test. I replace it with people who are unimpugnable when it comes to character. That's the third thing that I do. Now, I know that's difficult. You can't really yank a Supreme Court justice off, but if we're talking about
This is a fantasy here, we do
yeah,
what we
if we're talking
want.
about blue skying a new United States of
Yeah,
America, you're going to
that's
have to
right.
get all the Handmaid's Tale brethren and sisters out. And that's here. This is going to sound really icky too. This is the fourth thing that I do. I don't have a fifth, so this is where I'll land. I would make it absolutely 100% illegal for any person of any extreme faith to hold public office. I'm floating that here in Canada now. Bear me out. Like, hear
How
me
do
out.
you
Just
how do you tell like what's an extreme faith? I mean, I get it and I'm with
yeah.
you, but how do you draw
I don't
where's the
know. I haven't gotten
line?
to that. I haven't gotten to that part yet. But
Oh,
when I do, I'll tell you. I haven't figured that out yet. But I've realized something over the past several years watching the shit show in the United States bleed into Canada. Is every single crazy lunatic that wants to hurt a Canadian or an American somehow has a fealty to Jesus Christ, somehow has a fealty to an evangelical cult or an evangelical or Abrahamic faith, Abrahamic religion, extremely conservative. I was a born again Christian, believe it or not. This is going to sound really interesting to everybody. Grew up in that church, got out of high school, went to university. I'm like, oh, it's garbage. Oh, okay. The earth isn't 7,000 years old. Um, and so I went completely the other way and I'm apostate. But because of my time in that faith, I can tell you one thing to be very true. And if there are any other Christians out here, I do not mean any disrespect whatsoever. I'm talking about the evangelical ones. My family, they're still Christians. My brothers are Reverend. They represent who Jesus really was. And I believe that to be the beautiful part of that faith, the philosophy and the teachings of Jesus. So, the interesting part is when you become a Christian, you have a conversion experience, or you convert to any of those Abrahamic faiths, you'd give your life, your whole life, to God, to that God, everything, that oath to that God, whether it be Allah, whether it be God, whether it be the whole Trinity, the Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ, whatever, those Abrahamic gods, that oath comes before your oath to your wife. That oath comes before your oath to your children to be a father or a husband or wife, whatever. That oath stands above everything. So when you take an oath to protect the people of Canada or the people of the United States, that oath comes second. Number two, numero two, your oath to protect, your duty to protect the people that you swore an oath to when you decided you wanted to become the president or the prime minister or the premier or a congressman or a senator. Every single one of those people, they're not in it for, they're not in it to protect anybody. They're not in it for public service. and they take their allegiance to their faith, specifically that extreme, and they bleed those values in here, justifying the fact that they're not going to do what they swore an oath to do, because this oath, their blood oath to their God in those Abrahamic faiths, comes before everything else, which is why it is incompatible for anybody of any of those faiths that has given their life to their Savior or their God or their Lord to give their life for the people they swore an oath to protect, because that always comes second. And that's my thinking. And again, I got to map it out. That's not how I'll do
Yeah,
it.
there are a few inconsistencies there, but I'll let you have it for now.
Yeah,
If you
those are just
really
my
want to have that,
opinions.
if we are going to have this conversation, really, really, then someday we'll really have it. But that's okay.
Oh,
It's
I
good
would
on the
love to.
surface.
Yeah, on very like I said, I haven't figured it out yet. That's just one of my things, because I'm very, very anti-religion. So, but yeah, I think what America does from here on in is America's choice, and being here, and I'm here now actually. But I have had nothing but positive experiences with Americans, so it's not all bad.
Well, then you've kept away from the the ones we all try to keep away from.
Mhm.
I want to thank you for coming and talking to me, despite all of the calendar confusion that I may have.
Were you sick of all of my like texts? Are we going today? No, that's next week. Are we going today? No, that's tomorrow. Were you sick of that?
No, because I screw up my calendar all the fucking time. So I totally get it. But I want to thank you. I want to thank all of you. My God, that's the most people I've had on alive ever. So that's your fault,
What do we
Dean.
got? What do we got? What do we got?
We got
514?
518
518. Is that the most? That's awesome.
for
What a
me.
great
Yeah,
day for us.
for
Dr. Steph,
us.
for us, for you, for me,
For
for a
you.
conversation. I'm
Exactly.
grateful to be here. I'm
It
grateful to be
was
here.
great.
Anytime a doctor says, I'd like to interview you, you're like, I don't know what you want with me. This will be fun. So thank you. And I appreciate your work. You do some incredible work with the guys over at Banner and Backbone on your own. All of my subscribers, if you were here, please subscribe to Stephanie's. Hit that little chyron at the top. You'll immediately subscribe to both of us right there. Boom. You just got to hit it and boom, you're going to be subscribed. It's super, super easy. You do some of the most contextualized framing through a really historical lens. You are excellent at what you do, and I want to thank you for your work as well. This whole thing has been about me, Doc, and I haven't said once how much I appreciate you, your stick-to-itiveness, your dogged conversations, how you think, how you feel, how you help people with their perception, how you educate us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Everybody go and follow Dr. Stephanie. She's awesome.
You're making me blush. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I thought it was a great
Cool.
conversation.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully we get to talk again soon.
Anytime. Appreciate you.
All right.
Thanks, Doc.
Take care. All right. Bye bye.
Bye now.